Hello everyone, how are we doing? So this week I'm going to go through some exercises you can do to work on some wrist mobility. Now, one of the reasons for this is I've had a few people ask, a few questions come through just in relation to tennis elbow. Now there's a few different areas that need to be addressed with that. Wrist mobility is one of them. There's also forearm or extensor strength and also thoracic mobility. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to break that question down into a couple of different parts over the next few weeks. But the first one for this wrist warm up, this is also a really good one to add in if you're doing any pressing, even if you're doing any front squats. So if your wrist mobility is something that maybe limits you in that front squat position, this is a good one to add into your arsenal. Now, before you do this, make sure you don't have any injuries or issues with your wrist. So if you have some RSI or carpal tunnel or something like that, check with somebody who knows your particular position before you start to do some of this stuff. But this is just a nice simple sequence that we can do. So we're going to do this on all fours, so hands on the ground. Whenever we do any part of this, what we want to try and do is we want to try and splay our fingers out, so get them as wide as possible. Now we're going to do between 10 to 20 reps in each position. So heel of your hand on the ground, fingers splayed out, and the first thing we're going to do is just turn the pit of our elbow in and out. Trying to work that end range of motion, so we'll go 10 times in, 10 times out. That's position one. Then from there, position two, we're going to turn our hand backwards, trying to get that index finger pointed back towards our quads. Heel of the hand's going to stay on the ground. Now, if you're really tight on one side of your body, you may do this one side at a time. If you're doing it for a warm-up for, Olympic weightlifting movements or whatever the case might be, then you'll probably do both. Heel of your hand on the ground, again getting those fingers out nice and wide, elbows locked, and then we're just going to rock back and forwards. We can pause in that end range of motion to get an extra bit of a stretch out, but again, if I'm doing this as a dynamic warm-up, I'm probably going to go 10 to 20 reps from there. And then for this next part, this is probably the hardest part in the whole sequence. What we're going to do is we're going to take the back of our hand and place it on the floor. And what I want to do, if I can, is get my elbows locked out. If I can't get my elbows locked out, a couple of different ways you can do it. If you struggle to straighten that arm out, you may find you're in kind of this position. Just do it as a hold and just do 10 to 20 second hold on each side. You do one side and then obviously change the other. If you can get both hands on the floor, so palms facing up, elbows locked out, and you want to add a little bit of movement to it, go ahead and do that. Don't go too crazy with this. Could jack your wrists up pretty badly if you really try and lean into it quickly, but just nice and light, 10 times back, 10 times forward if you can. Then from there, same deal, fingers splayed out, we're going to have our hands angled out, and then we're just going to go back from side to side. And then once we've done that, we'll move to fingers facing forward, and then we're just going to go all the way over our hands, rocking back and forwards, nice and lightly, trying to stretch that end range of motion. So that's the wrist warm-up. There's a few different movements there. You can either take that as slow as you like, or just as controlled as you need to in order to get into each position as you do it, but that's a good one too. If you find your forearms get jacked up because you're doing a lot of carrying work, or you're doing a lot of hanging work potentially from the barbell, or if you're someone that does suffer from a little bit of tennis elbow, that may be a nice little one to add into your arsenal. We're going to go through next week, we're going to go through some strengthening stuff, so make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, and we will see you next week. Bye.